Hello, and welcome to Align to Enlighten. My name is Gene, and I'm co-creator of Align to Enlighten. You can also find us on our blog site at www.aligntoenlighten.wordpress.com. This week we want to talk about change or transformation. Change or transformation. And before we talk about change or transformation of what, let's first talk about the differences in definition of those two words. When you consider change, change implies um, uh, change implies making something different than what it was before, right? So we consider change when we talk about we might change our clothes, we change our hairstyle, we change our mind, we might change the bed sheets. Um, seasons change. Uh, there's a popular saying that the only thing constant in this world is change. So change is it implies something that's moving and altering frequently. When we consider transformation, transformation implies actually sustained change. So transformation implies things that are going to be more permanent. So a structural change, a structural change, or the appearance is made to be different permanently. For example, when we think about the caterpillars transforming into a butterfly, when you think about um, um, acorn seeds being planted into the ground and watered, and the sun coming over the top of them, and they create a tree, that seed has been transformed into a full grown tree. When we think about sperm and eggs coming together, or sperm, one egg coming together to create another human, there's a complete transformation taking place. Or even if we take gaseous elements such as hydrogen, you take two parts hydrogen, which you can't see, you can't touch it, but you know it's there, and you mix it with one part oxygen, then all of a sudden we have water. The two elements have been transformed. It's difficult to separate them and make them back to be what they were before. The butterfly can't go back to being a caterpillar. The acorn tree can't go back to being the seed that it was. The newborn baby, the newborn child, can't go back to being just two cells as it started. Transformation has occurred. So I'll give you another example. When we think about transformation in our daily lives versus change, many of us, me included, at the top of the year, we have New Year's resolutions. And one of the most popular, right, is about losing weight. So we're going to change the way that we eat. We're going to change our daily activity. So that means that we're going to stick to some type of dietary plan. We're going to have a routine of workout, and therefore we're changing what we normally would do. And then a month or two go in, and then we're back to eating hamburgers and french fries, and we're not exercising nearly as much as we planned, and eventually we're back to doing the same thing we did before. Why? Because we didn't have sustained change or transformation. What we decided was we would change something that was happening that we were used to doing that was giving us the negative effect of weight gain. So what I'll offer you in that same example is, instead of simply changing the way that you eat or changing your activity on a daily basis, think about it from transforming your thought process, transforming your perception. So instead of looking at food and saying, wow, I can't wait to devour this wonderful food in front of me, or instead of looking at the food and saying, I've had a very bad day, so I'm going to go get a pint of ice cream and devour this pint of ice cream to make myself feel better, then transform your perception of food and consider it as simple fuel to keep my body in motion. No different than the simple fuel when you go to a gas station and put gasoline in your car. The gasoline doesn't make you excited. The gasoline simply says, I need to put this in to make sure my car will keep moving. Same way with food. If I transform the way I perceive food and understand that it is simple fuel for me to keep my body in motion, then I give the food less power over me because I've changed my perception. I've transformed my perception. If I've transformed my perception, then I can also expect a sustained change in my diet and sustained change in my workout routine. So I won't be on the yo-yo path of dieting and exercise. So overall, how do we want to create sustained change in the other greater things that we desire in our life, such as maybe longer lasting relationships, more happiness day to day, joy, more love in our life, maybe it's financial stability that we seek, um, promotions on our job, success in our jobs, maybe it's better relationships with our children, whatever it is that you desire in life to achieve, think about it from a transformational way. Let me offer you this. As a child, many of us played this game, the telephone game. And in the telephone game, if you line up 40 kids and you start off with the rumor with the first kid, by the time it gets to the end of that, then that entire perception and that entire whatever statement has changed and morphed to be something completely different. So we start off with the first kid and you say, hey, Gene is fat. And by the time he gets to kid number 40, Gene is not only fat, but Gene is severely overweight. He needs to lose 100 pounds. He eats hamburgers, French fries, and pizza all day, every day, and drinks all the beer that he can handle. And he's lazy and he never ever wants to work out. That's what happens from the first kid saying Gene is fat to kid number 40 in that chain of event. And what I'm offering you in that statement is this. Collectively, as a society, when one person perceives something as being what it is, and there's other people that join in that same perception, then that perception becomes a truth. And then the more and more people that buy into that same truth, that quote unquote truth, the more people that buy into that, then eventually it becomes a belief. And that belief becomes what we perceive as the authentic truth. Okay? So what I ask you today is, what perceptions are simply distorted truths that you have in your life? Because think about it. The first kid in that line of 40 that said, hey, Gene is fat, all the way to kid number 40, which says, hey, Gene is not only fat, but he also needs to lose 100 pounds. He eats pizza, French fries, and hamburgers every single day, all day. And he's lazy and doesn't ever want to work out. That has become the perception. And if we let that lie as it is, then it becomes the truth. Then it becomes the belief. Okay? So, all from one person's distorted perception. All from one person's distorted perception. So what types of distorted perceptions do you have and hold on to today and call them beliefs? I'll give you some examples on how to quickly identify them. When you think about any type of stereotypes, racism, classicism, chauvinism, narcissism, any of those types of things, those are all distorted perceptions that have become truth. And those truths have also become belief. So what I encourage you today to do is examine what are those perceptions that you have that are distorted, that we call beliefs, based on someone else's initial perception of that situation. And then I want you to consider this. We are the creators of whatever our perceptions are. We own our own perceptions. Quick example, I have a good friend of mine who told me about an event that she had gone to some years ago. And she got to this event and there was 10 yards of hot burning coals. And these people were putting sticks in the coals to show the rest of the group that this was actually, yes, this is on fire. And the whole objective that they started off with was to say, everybody in this group will be able to take off their shoes and socks and walk across these fiery hot coals without burning their feet. So of course, everybody's initial perception was, oh my God, that's never going to happen. We can't walk across hot coals without burning our feet. 3rd-degree burns, we're going to the hospital. over the next period of an hour, hour and a half, what the facilitators of this entire event did was help the people change their perception. The perception that they offered them was, your feet are strong enough to walk over these hot coals without being burned at all. Your feet have that ability to do that. And the more and more they talked to these people about that, the more and more the people bought into that perception that, yes, my feet are strong enough, I can walk over these hot coals without being burned. Each individual had to accept that perception for themselves. And that perception became a truth for each individual. And the more and more that individual looked to that as being the truth, and the more other people that looked to that same thought as being the truth, it became a belief for them. And wouldn't you know, my friend took off her socks and shoes and walked over 10 yards of coal, hot burning coals, without burning her feet. So again, what we have to offer today is a transformation of thought. Because at the end of the day, what happens is what you perceive as being the authentic truth becomes your belief. And that belief is how things are manifested that you desire. So what I offer you today is this. Creation is the catalyst for transformation. Creation is the catalyst for transformation. So exercise your power of creation. You are made and formed in God's image, who is our ultimate creator. So if you're made in God's image and he is our ultimate creator, you too are a co-creator with God. And starting with your perceptions will help you to create your desired outcomes. It's about transforming the way that you perceive the things that you see, and then accepting them as the truth that you desire, and then creating the belief that you command. This is how you go from change to transformation. Change is something that happens, and then there's more change to come. Transformation is a more permanent way of structural appearance, belief, truth, sustained change comes through transformation. And God has given us all of that ability to do just that. So this week, I encourage you to examine what your perceptions are. Look around our country right now. There's a lot of social unrest, for example. Lots of things are happening right now that make us cringe, that give us angst, that say, wow, you know, we could have if we could have one person to come along, that person could change everything that we see. And what I offer you today is that is not the authentic truth at all. If you desire change in your community, if you desire the ills that we see to be justified, to be fixed, justice to prevail, for people to be prosperous, for people to be happy, if you desire these things, that doesn't come from one person coming to make change in our country. That type of change starts with a transformation within ourselves. We have to begin the transformation within ourselves to have the change that we desire be manifested. I have a friend of mine who came in town, and he was visiting from DC. I hadn't seen him in about 5 years, and we were having dinner, and one of the things he said to me was, wow, you really have changed. You know, you seem so calm. You're not uptight. You seem to be very even keel, is what he told me. And and I thanked him for that, you know, because I do live my life in a very positive way now compared to, say, 5 years ago, which is the last time I saw him. And he asked me, well, how do you maintain that change? How don't things get you riled up? Don't you get upset? How do you maintain that? And here's what I told him. What I told him was, the change that you see is a simple derivative of the transformation that has happened at my soul. So when we consider change, think about change more so on a superficial level. Because change happens, and change is going to happen again and again and again and again. Transformation happens at the lower level, the deeper level, the core level of your true authentic being. Therefore, you know that sustained change is permanent. That's why my friend can look at me and say, wow, I can see the difference in you. It's not simply about me having positive thoughts and thinking in a positive way and speaking very positively. Those are very good things to do as well. But the transformation of my soul in a truer understanding of enlightenment has created a sustained change or transformation that is apparent to the people around me. And I don't do it for the people around me, I do it for me. Because again, if I'm looking to exercise sustained change and transformation in the community and the other things that I desire in my life, then that first has to start with a transformation of my perceptions and who I am and those things that I desire, those things that I expect, and those things that I believe, and those things that I call authentic truth. It happens at the transformational level of your soul. That's what we want to offer you today. Change or transformation. It is all your choice. It is all your choice. So this week, please choose to be transformed, to get the sustained change and manifest the desires that you have in your heart. It comes from transformation. I want to thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Gene, co-creator of Align to Enlighten. You can find us on our blog site at www.aligntoenlighten.wordpress.com. Peace. Namaste.